Go. Hello. We are here with our new live stream. So welcome now, the only reality. And here we are. So let's see. I usually am all set, but now I can't find all my stuff that I usually can find. Okay, here it is. All right. So be, and by being, heal the sick. Mind.
Bicknell Young.
That's Bicknell Young?
Yeah.
Okay. Mind is its own great cause and effect. This was not the idea of Mary Baker Eddy, although the words were hers. It was and is mind's idea of itself. And mind's idea of itself is knowledge of itself, is mind's reflection known as man. Each individual is mind's reflection, not by declaration or definition, but by being mind, as impersonal thinking, disclosing the infinitude and variety of mind, capital M. The demonstrable understanding of each individual is his leader and authority. Mary Baker Eddy wrote, "What remains to lead on the centuries and reveal my successor is man."
Yep.
In the ratio that Christian scientists adhere to the fact of one mind, capital M, will a spontaneous unanimity of thought and action appear. When unanimity is achieved, as it will be when the thinking is impersonal and out from mind, there will be no question of leadership or authority. The word unanimity is used as a meeting of the minds or mutual understanding. A meeting of the minds in and as one mind clears the lines of communication since it obliterates the illusion of many minds. How does this that is called human consciousness experience redemption so that the sick are healed? Certainly not by anything that is human or any power that could be associated with mere human thinking. All consciousness is mind, capital M, God. And this is the reason the human consciousness apparently experiences redemption. And that's taken from Christian Science Re-Explored by Margaret Laird on page 105. Welcome, Betty. How are you tonight? Anything you want to add to any of that?
Nope, it was fine, and I'm fine.
You're fine, and it's fine, and everything's fine.
All is go.
All right. Well, what I do want to say is I want everyone to know that we are sponsored by the Institute of Metaphysical Science, and we are a nonprofit. And if you would like to support our channel, you can follow the link up in the wherever it is up over there, and you can do a donation if you see fit. And all of that. We welcome all of it. We also welcome your participation. And if you like this episode, give us a thumbs up or a like or a heart. And if you do leave a comment, we will get those comments and we can incorporate them here if we are live. So with no further ado.
Did you get the emails from Brian?
No? What emails from Brian?
I got a couple of emails from Brian, and they were wonderful comments on our last program.
I did not get them.
They were sent to Kim and Betty.
By who?
Brian.
Huh?
I'll find them if you want me to.
Okay, if you want to, we can do that. So thank you, Brian.
It was on the one where I used the word indissoluble. So he addresses that and he says,
okay.
I think I know what Margaret was thinking when she made that statement. It wasn't about an out there event to her, regardless of the dramatic scenario, nor was it making a decision on how to react, but was of such a it was such a mental event in the world she walked through that it demanded immediate evaluation, i.e., not about people, places, and things, but a demand to be divine, kind of an inner, in your face challenge, perhaps.
Yeah.
Nice comment.
Yep. I like that.
Are you there?
Yeah, it is. Can you hear me? It is
Can't hear me?
I can hear you.
I can't hear you.
Well, turn up your sound.
How do I do that?
Up at the top
I
of your
can't hear
keyboard.
anything.
Up at the top of your keyboard. You must have hit the mute. Bear with us we have technical difficulties. On your keyboard, let's see. Look at, here, I'll type you a note. Can I type you a note? I don't know. You won't see it. Okay, let's see. On your keyboard, Betty. She hit the mute. I can almost guarantee it, y'all. Anyone have any good ideas about how to tell her? Oh, here we go. Hey, you hit the mute. So do the mute. Undo the mute on your keyboard. It's up at the top, F10, 11, or 12. At the top of your keys on the upper right.
10, 11, or 12.
See how it has a little thing with the sound waves going out from it? The little speaker thing, the sound waves going out? That's the one you want to hit. That'll turn your sound on. Okay, there you go. Bye.
Thank you.
All right.
I will learn.
That commercial break was brought to you by Apple. All right. So now everybody knows how to get their sound back on if you mute. Okay. So here we go. Diving in. Let me just check. We have so Brian BG says I can translate. So thank you very much. Awesome. Okay. Here we go. In Christian Science Re-Explored, and that's the book that we're looking at in today's deal. So consciousness is always now. And the evolution of consciousness, its infinitude, is successive, not progressive awareness, which means right now, right now, right now, right now. And to us, it appears like a progression, like it's progressing, like they're hooked to each other. But they're actually right now and right now and right now not connected. Is that a good interpretation?
They're connected to you.
Right.
And you can only be present now.
Right.
You can't be present later. You can't be present yesterday. You can only be present now.
Right.
And consciousness is there where you are, not anywhere else.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So along with that idea, the divinity of humanity is demonstrated as science, as enlightenment, and not as humanity becoming enlightened. There is no becoming.
Yeah, we're not doers. That may be the way it looks. It's not the way it is. So we have to learn to leave the appearance of it alone and stay with the fact of what's present.
Right.
That's not an easy discipline, but it makes a difference.
Yes, it does. And it does because it's the acknowledgement of the facts. Have you be present?
Yeah, and it's consciousness, which is not yesterday or tomorrow. It's only right now, right now, right now. We've just been talking about that. Right. So it's only applicable to right now.
Right.
And we have to let go of our habitual belief that something really occurred back when or is going to occur up when.
Right.
It's only occurring now. And if it isn't now, you've got nothing to work with.
Correct. Yeah.
I can't eat cooking dinner yesterday, and I can't eat planning to cook tomorrow. I can only eat now.
Right. Right. That's good. And now is where all the power is.
The only power there is. Yeah.
Because the other are illusions.
Well, they're non-existent. You're exactly right. their points of view about what you think is going to be, which often doesn't occur at all.
Right.
But whatever is present is the only now you've got. So you have to work with that.
Right. Right. Okay. And in Science and Health on page 28, starting on line 11, Mary Baker Eddy wrote, in conscience, we cannot hold to beliefs outgrown.
Yep.
Want to say more about that?
Well, I think about when you're a little kid, and you believe in Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Well, in conscience, you can't live with that belief as you grow up because you find out the Santa Claus is you. It's
Right.
your now experience. Could be an experience of a parent that's now, or a sister or a brother, but it can't be from the North Pole coming down to do something for you over here in the
Right.
United States. That's all a fairy tale.
I look at it like the Matrix, red pill or blue pill. And you
Doesn't
take the
matter.
red pill, and that's like going down see how far the rabbit hole really goes. That's like consciousness, reality, all that. And the blue pill, you get to go back to sleep.
When did you find that one out?
That's in the Matrix. That's the movie in the Matrix. Okay.
Yeah.
And by understanding more of the divine principle of the deathless Christ, we are enabled to heal the sick and to triumph over sin, which is the belief in more than one.
Yeah, more than one power or presence. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anything else you want to add to that?
No, except that we gloss over the leading word in that sentence, which is understanding.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key to everything. Without understanding, there's nothing going on.
Right.
With understanding, there's a self-recognition present and presencing.
Yep.
Yep.
In Mind is the Athlete on page 66, you wrote this: I consciously am is an autonomous acknowledgement of the self.
Yep.
What do you mean by autonomous acknowledgement? Just because I am is that?
It's an acknowledgement. Yeah, I consciously am.
So just being is that autonomous acknowledgement.
No, an acknowledgement is an acknowledgement. It's a recognition.
And what's an autonomous acknowledgement?
Well,
it would be automatic.
It appears automatic in your world you live in, but you're consciously aware.
Yes.
I don't know what you're asking, Kim.
I just don't know what you mean. Why doesn't it just say I consciously am is an acknowledgement of the self? Why do you have autonomous in there?
Oh, because automatically that little sentence includes that whole thing. I consciously am automatically includes all of that. It's an
acknowledgement of self.
And I noticed that word self is capitalized.
Yeah,
we're talking about the divinity of humanity.
Right. Okay. Okay. That's all I was trying to clarify. Sorry, I wasn't clear about that.
Yep.
I get it now. I get it. Okay.
Good.
All right. And each one of us lives that fact either consciously or unconsciously. So we live the fact I consciously am either
whether you know it or not,
or unconsciously. So that's kind of like reminds me of when Margaret said, you're happy whether you know it or not.
That's right. Yeah. Well, it's like being is always divine presence.
Yeah.
How many people know that?
Right.
Whether you know it or not, that's what's going on.
Right. Right. Just remember this over the holiday season, that you're happy whether you know it or not. Okay. Just keep that with you through all of whatever happens on the holidays. Okay.
Joyous and free.
That's right. Happy, joyous, free. That's all that's going on, no matter what it looks like. All right. Onward. In Christian Science Re-Explored on page 273, line 27, Margaret Laird wrote, enlightenment is gained by enlightenment, by self-consciously, oops, I didn't catch that typo, by self-consciously being the science, the reality of all things.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing we just said. I consciously am. Same thing as saying enlightenment is gained by enlightenment, by self-consciously being the science, the reality of all things.
Yeah, and you bring it into your experience, your actual conscious human experience, proportionate to its occupancy of your thought, because thoughts are things.
Okay. So is that of my thought, just like I could meditate on it? Is that what you mean?
Conscious awareness makes all the difference. Yes.
Okay. So if it's present for me, it's present, period.
Yep.
And that's the space of miracles.
Yep. It's a
Okay,
space
got
of
it.
being.
Well, here I am being itself
Yeah.
being, whether I consciously
It's a
acknowledge
space
it
of
or not.
conscious being.
Huh?
Maybe I should say it's a space of conscious being.
Okay. Well, now okay. All right. I'll go with that.
All right.
Okay. Humanity becomes divine because its divinity is its now humanity. So humanity, I question the word becomes. So humanity is the divinity because its divinity is its now humanity. I wouldn't say it becomes divine because then it's a becoming.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
I hear your question, and I'm thinking, how would you say it? You know, Margaret used to say, it doesn't mean anything, but you have to use those words sometimes.
Okay. All right.
Humanity
Well,
doesn't become, but how are you going
right.
to say that?
Humanity is divine because its divinity is its now humanity.
And then just words.
Uh-huh.
Because I look around and think, doesn't look divine to me.
Right. Well, thank you for sharing.
Exactly.
Go sit in the corner. All right. Okay. And Science and Health on page 29, starting on line 14, Mary Baker Eddy said, those instructed in science have reached the glorious perception that God is the only author of man.
Yep.
Well, that to me reads like, well, of course. So why is that not?
Talk to every day that will know that. That, of course.
Very few.
That's why the sentence is nice. Nice to have it said.
But those instructed in science that I talk to, most of them would see that.
They do see it, but do you ever hear any saying?
Well, I'm not around a lot of people who have been instructed in science on a day-to-day basis, except for you.
You're not around me much either. You're way out
Exactly.
in
See what I'm
Minnesota.
saying? See what I'm saying? All right. So, but I do get that. Okay. Now, man, as the offspring of God, as the idea of spirit, is the immortal evidence that spirit is harmonious and eternal. So that's a long way of saying that man is harmonious and eternal.
Yeah, but they put in all those qualifying things because we don't always behave that consciously.
No, we mostly get run around by our judgments and feelings and beliefs, and
Yeah.
until we can step out of that and say, now wait a minute, what's going on?
Yeah. We get stuck with our likes and our dislikes and our preferences and, who said what and why and
Right.
all that.
Right. Now, Brian offered perhaps realizes rather than becomes. Remember when we were talking about becomes?
Mm-hmm.
So that
The
might be
problem is that we're quoting somebody else, so we can't change it, but we can say that
right.
that's the
But
way.
but it's a good
Yeah,
conversation. It's a good conversation for it.
thank you. Very good.
Okay. All right. Now, in Mind is the Athlete on page 68, you wrote, understanding is the key to a new humanhood of greatness and goodness.
Yes.
And that's where you really talk about understanding.
Yes.
So say more about understanding and the way you're talking about it.
Well, the note under that does talk about it more. Why don't
Oh,
you
it
just read
does. It's that long part,
Yeah.
right? Okay, here's the mouthful. We are understanding as evidence of
We are
consciousness.
the understanding.
Oh, we are the understanding as evidence of consciousness that any effort made to have the ego affirmed in the ego image is the ego functioning as the whole. Unless this is your understanding, the effort will keep the conflict between God and devil alive in your sensory experience.
Mm-hmm.
I have to read that again to myself now for a minute. So, unless you're clear about the one about reality, capital R, you're going to always have this conflict between God and devil alive in your living, in your experience of living.
Yeah, unless understanding is present.
Right.
You're going to have all of that stuff going on.
Right. And when understanding is present and I'm clear about the about reality, capital R, then I'm free of this conflict.
Yeah, and what they're pointing out in that sentence is the importance of awareness, conscious awareness.
Right. Like keeping yourself alert.
Yeah, you understand this when you reason it out, but living that consciously keeps it alert, keeps it present in your
Right.
experience. Yeah.
Right. And the
Okay.
more you build that muscle, the more you see that and
Yep.
catch it. And you
Yep.
don't go down the rabbit hole. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Makes sense. If anyone has any questions about this, just type them in. We'll be happy to entertain any questions or comments.
Yep.
Okay, now in Christian Science Re-Explored on page 273, line 13, Margaret Laird wrote, resting on the hope of becoming more godlike is actually a denial of our now divinity. And that's just true because you can't become more of anything. You're already all of it, correct?
Well, the sentence is addressing the human tendency to think you can become better.
Right.
And if all is infinite mind now, there's no place to go.
So there's no better to become.
No,
And
and better is a non-existent value
right,
in reality.
right,
Because there isn't any better, best, poor.
right. Like I said, it'll never get any better.
There's no progression. It's successive infinity unfolding.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it'll never get any better.
Well, the thing is, science has us in the paradigm of living perfection present.
Yes.
So there's no place to go.
Right.
There's no progression.
Correct. So it'll never get any better.
There's now.
Yep.
And now as perfection as the ground of being has no progression.
Right. So if it's right now, right now, right now, right? So if it's right now, right now, right now, right now, right now, there is no getting better. There's never any getting better, even though it may look better to you and your judgment about it. That's just a belief in a falsehood.
It's a belief in that you're a human being progressing. That's what it's saying doesn't exist.
Right. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Belief system.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, but then is when acknowledging divinity, the now divinity is freedom right there, right now.
Yes. And we don't acknowledge nearly enough. Instead, we get putting ourselves down about it or blaming someone else about something.
Right.
And we forget all about present perfection, thinking that we're fix-it machines.
Right.
You know, if I really point out all the wrong things going on here, things will get better. They get
Right.
worse because you're selling something that doesn't exist.
Right. So
Margaret
we've
has,
got,
in one of her seminars, she talks about it's absolutely of no value at all to point out what's wrong,
right.
to tell people about what they're not doing right.
Exactly. Because in your world, in their world, your answers are noise. So yeah, it's just a waste of time. But here's a good input. The mountain of perfection now seen through the mist of language. What do you think of that? Look up and look at your screen. The mountain of perfection now seen through the mist of language.
Yep.
It's pretty good, right?
Because what's really present, you see, giving us language, if I can put it that way, is reality. And reality is the ground of being. That's perfection.
Yeah, sure.
So I
Absolutely.
have to be willing to leave the language alone. That's the way it looks. Okay. What's the way that it is? It's perfection present, the best way I can see it.
Yes.
So I
And
leave look alone.
right. And it's a constant acknowledgement, constant letting go.
Well, the constant acknowledgement is a letting go.
Right. But that's what I'm saying is that it's constant. It's
You're right.
particularly in, sometimes it's easier than other times, but particularly in the times that, we're living in right at this moment, there just seems to be a lot of just letting go, acknowledgement, letting go, acknowledgement.
Okay.
If I can say that, it just seems like it's constant. It's a demand to live science.
Well, yes. And anytime that you have a concern come up, that is a demand.
Yes.
To be present now.
Yes.
And what is now? And who am I being?
Correct.
Yeah.
So the what is not becomes what is because what is not is what is not. Okay, say that, unpack that. Okay, the what is not becomes what is because what is what is not. That is a tongue twister.
Yeah.
It's like a limerick.
Well, the language world is what appears, but it's what is not.
Right. Because what is what is not.
That's right.
God. Okay, I got it. Oh my God, it's like a riddle.
It is.
It's like a riddle wrapped in an enigma. Okay, I got it. That's actually really good. Did everybody else get that? Because I did finally get it. All right, onward. In Science and Health on page 39, starting on line 18, Mary Baker Eddy wrote, "Now," cried the apostle, "is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation."
Yep. It's the only time that there's anything going on is right now.
Yeah.
Nothing else is real.
Right. It's a memory or a thought, but right now is all there is.
And it's an aboutness. And aboutness doesn't have any power at all.
Right. Right. Okay. Now, meaning now is the time in which to experience that salvation in spirit and life right now. There's no time like the present.
That's the only time you have.
That's right. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the next best time is right now.
All right.
All right. And in Mind is the Athlete on page 68, you said this: being intelligently shows up in the form of language as an ever shifting human experience.
Yeah. But it's being that's occurring.
Yeah, being intelligently shows up in the form of language
Yep.
as an ever-shifting human experience.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's not by accident that being shows up the way it does, because it intelligently shows up.
Well, it's present as it is. My seeing of it is up to me.
Right,
My living of it.
right.
So it's always good to know that if it's not okay, I have to look right here.
Yep,
If it's wonderful, I have to look right here. If I'm disappointed, I have to look right here.
right, there's nowhere else to look.
That's right.
Right. So I wanted to go back to the what is, I think the what is thing. Where's the what is? What is? What
What is
is?
not becomes the what is.
Yeah, where is that?
Note up at Laird 273.
What is not becomes what is. Okay, because Polly said, instead of saying what is what is not, couldn't you say what we think is not? Is this what you're getting at?
No.
Okay, so say more, Mom. Why no?
Whatever you have being the what is not becomes what is, because what is what is not.
So when she says, could you say what we think is not?
It isn't what we think. We're not interested in what we think.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
Man is not a thinker.
Right. The what is not becomes what is, because what is what is not.
Yeah. It's like the pink dress, if I can say that, becomes what is. The pink dress that is can become what is not. Do you
Well,
see that?
any language is what is not. And it becomes what is, because what is what is not.
That's right. The truth is, regardless of how you see it,
Right.
because it's what is. So if you think it's what is not, it still is what is.
Right. Because truth is all that's there. Truth,
That's right.
principle, life, love, right? All that
Isn't it
is.
hard to say this stuff sometimes?
Yeah, it's a tongue twister. That's why it's really good. And that was really good to bring up, because it's like, yeah, you got to kind of play with that.
Yep.
All right. All right. So now we're back being
Well, I
intelligently.
love the question that Polly brought up,
Yeah.
because that is often where we get stuck with ourselves.
Right. And she can't get her head around it. It's a tough one. This is a tough one.
And play with it, Polly.
This whole thing, and it took, let me go get that.
Give the what is not a name, and then give what is a name, and play with it that way and clear it up for yourself.
So the what is not could be anything in my experience. Okay, so this brush, what is not? This brush is the what is not becomes what is, because what is reality is what is not.
Yep.
It's what makes up
What is shows
everything.
up in the language that identifies it for you. Even though it's in the language form, I'd call it as what is not.
Right. All language would be what is not.
Yeah. And
But it becomes what,
it's
because
not.
what is what is not, because what has this even exist, what has this even exist is reality present, divinity functioning, showing up the only way I can see it.
In the language of your present use.
Right.
Yep.
So hopefully that's, let's see.
It's fun to play with some of these tongue twisters.
And then we have like knowing there is nothing to heal when you have an owie, maybe. Yeah.
You have a what?
When you have an owie, knowing there's nothing to heal. So you hurt your finger. You hurt your finger. Out. Yeah. And you know there's nothing to heal.
Yep.
It's the same way of saying what is not becomes what is, because what is what is not.
Okay, back to that.
That's what we've been talking about because that is a tongue twister. It's like a limerick. It's a riddle. I
Yep,
I totally get that.
yep.
When it goes pop, you get it because it's like, oh, anything in the language world isn't.
It's
It's not
what is not.
real. It doesn't
What
have
is
substance.
being seen as what is not.
Yeah. And so that's a what is not, but infused in anything is all divinity, principle, functioning. The
Mhm.
only way you can see it.
Yep.
Anyways, it's a good one to play with. So you will have the whole Christmas holiday to play with that thought. Aren't you excited? Okay.
Are we going to be doing this next
So
week, or are you gonna be
we
on
have
the
one more thing before I unveil that. The ego image itself, the language form, has no generative power. So the brush, this language has no generative power.
That's right.
The only generative power is divinity, principle, consciousness,
Is being.
being. I
Yeah.
know, but those are all synonyms.
Yep.
Has no generative power. Nothing is ever personal.
All is infinite mind.
Mhm.
An old quote.
Right. And I remember from a long time ago when someone said, "You think the universe cares about what you think and your opinions? Stand outside and tell that to the stars and see how much they move for you." And I was like, "Oh my God." So that was fun too. I love it. A holiday isn't. That's right, because it is. What isn't is. So you will have, that's fun. So you will have the whole holidays to puzzle with this one lovely statement that we have. The what is not becomes what is because what is what is not. And we will see you in the beginning of January because travel is about to happen so that I can get from Minnesota to San Diego in time for the holidays. And so then we will resume them in January. So you guys have a really, really wonderful holiday. Thank you so much. It is just a pleasure to engage with you. And Polly says, "My life's a holiday." That's right. Yay. Love that. Okay. So we
Thank you,
will see
Polly.
you in January. Have a lovely holiday. And anyways, you can puzzle with this, what is not, the whole time. Get it very clear. All right. And we'll see you in January.
Merry Christmas.